Hey, everybody, this is Stet Howland of Metal Church, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking Podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Stet Howland of Metal Church.
Yes, and former drummer of Wasp.
And he's got a new project called Howland Hyatt, or also referred to as H2.
Yeah, it's very cool. I suggest everybody check it out. Let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Stet, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Stet, thanks for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited to have you this evening. You have a great press person, too, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So Howland and Hyatt have released, 3 new tracks? And let's talk about all 3 of them. So you cover While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Wrapped in Chains, and Eve of Destruction. Can you talk a little bit more about I guess maybe let's start with Eve of Destruction, some of the original material.
Well, yeah, I mean, Eve of Destruction was the obvious one to start with. It's heavy, you know. This album came about during lockdown. Me and some of my best friend Johnny, he engineers the Metal Church stuff. He's a guitar player. Mm-hmm. But we've been wanting to do some recording together, so we took the lockdown time and we just wrote some songs and we recorded some songs that he'd had, and our singer Livio brought in some songs. But Eve of Destruction was kind of one of the few that we geared towards the metal audiences, because if we started with Wrapped in Chains, people would have been like, what is this, you know? I mean, it's a kind of what is this record. It's not, there's no exact direction. It's just a collection of music that we love, you know?
Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
So the Eve of Destruction was an obvious start, and it's a good heavy song, and, you know, I'm like, and I was compelled to put a cool drum intro into it at the front of it, and it was an obvious starter song, you know?
Oh, fantastic.
Talk a little bit about that Wrapped in Chains. You guys made a video for that.
Well, Wrapped in Chains, our singer, my friend Livio, brought that to the table, and he just played it once on the guitar in the living room, and we're like, wow. You know, I was like, that's when a song is good enough that the guy can sit in your living room and play it, and you're like, that's a killer song.
Yeah.
Then you know, you can obviously do wonders with it in the studio, and you know, it's not exactly what everybody would expect, but I think it's like one of, if not the best songs on the record. You know, it's fun. It's got the Allman Brothers vibe instead of like a Metal Church or Wasp vibe. You know, it's totally odd, but I love it.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into While My Guitar Gently Weeps. We all know it's the Beatles' George Harrison classic. Can you talk a little bit more about covering this classic? And, did you guys have any, intimidating factors in trying to cover the song and making it yours?
Well, it was a passion of Johnny Hyatt's, our guitar player. He's in love with the song, and he it was one of the first ones we recorded. We were kind of like checking tones and seeing how things were sounding and stuff. And it, I think it's his guitar playing is a really interesting Brian May type element, and then the bass playing is just outstanding. I mean, it's just so flowing, and I'm just playing drums, I'm not a huge part of that song. I'm doing a little fill in here and there and stuff, but the vocal performance is passionate. Yeah, it was basically a lover of Johnny Hyatt's, and this whole thing was just out of a love of music. I know it sounds corny and friendship and all that stuff, but it's really the truth. So we made music, and this was a passion that Johnny really, really wanted to do for years, I guess. And I thought it came out good. I thought it was cool.
Very cool.
And different and non-standard, but that's a taboo subject. The Beatles are like, you got to be careful. You do it wrong, you hear all about it. So it was received pretty well.
Oh, good.
Oh, so good.
Well, besides Johnny, who else do you have in the band?
Jerome Lee is the bass player, and man, he's played with like a bunch of famous like guys out of my genre. I think Curtis Knight and guys like that. Mm-hmm. Really great bass player, super great guy. I knew him a little bit. We'd done a little bit of work together in Vegas, but he was a good friend of Johnny Hyatt's, and he had a studio at his house, so he was able to record the bass lines, as we were going along. And just did a beautiful job. And we have Michael T. Ross, my longtime compadre from the Lita Ford days, on keyboards. Just a amazing talent and a great guy. And he's like one of the first call guys on the West Coast. But he just happens to live 10 minutes up the street from me, so we got him on some tracks. And Livio Gravini is like one of the. He's been like the rock star god singer of in the New England area, like Massachusetts and Connecticut, for decades. He's just amazing, and we just started collaborating, and it turned into a cool thing. We had this other guy, Chris Logan, sing on one song. He was really good too. I couldn't leave him out, but he's not a part of the current band.
Yeah.
But good guys, and it's basically everybody involved is really super cool and talented, and we're just waiting. The next question, people are like, "Well, when are you going to tour?" And it's like, you wait for a couple of good anchor dates, and then you add on to them, and then sometimes it becomes a tour. That's when we get a couple of good show offers, then we'll go play.
Oh, very good.
And we have some stuff in the works and everything, but I'm kind of busy right now, doing a lot of stuff, and so we're just being patient. We're cherry picking all the good stuff,
Very good. As we see more and more artists release singles at a time instead of full-length albums or even an EP, we talked about this as being an album-oriented band. But what is your thought process of releasing in today's musical landscape? Releasing singles at a time opposed to releasing a full-length album or even an EP?
Well, in our case, I'll try and get through this pretty quick. I had these songs, and I didn't know what to do with them, so I went to my friend Opus, Christian Lawrence. He has Mind Snap Records. It's a great label. And he went to Vaughn Artists, Larry Touring over there, and then they went to The Orchard, which is Sony, for distribution, and they have a whole system. I was just getting advice, and it turned into suggestions of releasing a couple singles and then releasing the record, and we still have more videos to release and stuff. So there'll probably be another single or two, I'm not sure. But I like my old ways. I knew from, the 80s bands, like Wasp would be a good example, and those business practices just don't apply to what's going on now.
Exactly.
So I reached out to people that are hip and are doing business now. And So we did that thing. We release a couple singles and a video, and then you release the album, and then you keep working it. You know, I mean, it's we're I guess there's a lot more life to get out of this record. I mean, we have skateboard marketing. We got Muncie doing the radio. He's just amazing. We got all like the best people in the business. I don't know what's the matter with them. You know, like I know Shauna, our publicist, is amazing. These people are all like, I don't know why they choose to work with me, but we love them.
Do you have physical product out yet?
Yes. Yeah, it's made on demand. But yes, I mean, I'm not sure if it's stocked physically, but it's a whole album. It's available. It's really easy to get. The Orchard is like the most amazing distribution. Like when the album came out and you Google it or whatever, a link would come up and you'd see a picture of the album come, you click on it, and there's like 19 different ways to get it. You know, all cool. The obvious ones like Amazon, but even Walmart, and they had it everywhere. It's everywhere.
That's
so
nice.
I should be a little more hip on where it's physically available for hard copies, but I was just so happy that it did good because I'm like, oh boy, enough, you know, to be perceived as a solo record from a drummer. They're gonna rush out and buy that. You know what I mean? But it's good quality. It's a good record, and we have the right people, so it's being taken pretty seriously, and we've like been on all sorts of different charts and stuff, and we're like number 2 5 weeks in a row in our hometown in Fort Myers, Florida. You know, so it's like we're having fun. You know,
Yeah.
It's a real fun time. You know, and it's not pretentious at all. You know, it's just we're having fun with it, and people are really digging. You know, the songs like Wrapped in Chains that aren't the obvious. You know.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
to kind of leapfrog off that question, how do you compare the Howland and Hyatt band collaboration opposed to all the other bands and projects you've been a part of?
Oh man, you know, it's so funny because they're all different, and the dynamic is different in everything. Like for instance, Metal Church, shockingly, is like Van Halen. When I joined the band, all the stuff that was recorded and written from then on, we split publishing, everything like even. It's crazy. That band is insane. They're such incredible, wonderful people. With this situation, we kind of worked out if someone brought in a song, we just split it up or whatever, and we'd share publishing and stuff we wrote. You know, it's pretty generous that way, but it's not like that with everybody. You know, it's a different dynamic. And, you know, I'm kind of a know-it-all pain in the ass guy, so I come in, you know, demanding publishing for songs. You know, I wasn't even in the country when they wrote them, you know. And sometimes you get it, and sometimes you don't, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, you got the next question?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not a drummer myself, so I don't know a lot about like drum setups and stuff like that. But can you talk a little bit about your kit? That, you know, some people have just minimal, small stuff. Some people like huge stage surround kits. Can you talk about your setup?
It's funny because like I have with Metal Church, I have a similar kit to Wasp, and it's a double kit. You know, 4 mounted and 2 floors and a bunch of cymbals. And I've been playing DW drums since early '90s. I think they're the best drums, and they're definitely the best company. And I have a very unique kit where my kick drums are on the outside of the riser, and I have extension pedals. So my front toms are really low. There's no kick drums right in front of me, and my cymbals are high because I used to be a lead singing drummer. So I was finding my way to connect to the crowd because it's so hard from behind a drum set. So I play a huge kit when it's like a big band like Metal Church or Wasp. And if I'm doing fill-in stuff for the artist, I'm good with sometimes a Bonham setup. You know, it all depends. If I don't have to be doing like crazy Keith Moon-like stuff, I'm fine on any kit. But with both Wasp and Metal Church, I'm kind of busy. All over the kit, and I need some high toms for texture and flavor, and you know, some little cymbals, and you know, just different stuff. So I usually have a big huge kit, unless I have something to do with setting it up, and then it's small.
Oh, very good. Well, we wanted to acknowledge and give our condolences to you and the rest of the members of Metal Church with the passing of Mike Howe in 2021, and I hope I'm not being inappropriate, but you know, Jeff and I both were curious to know what is the status of Metal Church at this time?
We're continuing. We have a batch of new songs, and the singer process is going to be different than most people would think. It's not like Rockstar where one guy's going to come in. We're writing, and we're having some people have a go at doing some writing and singing, and it's kind of we're rebuilding the band. Absolutely, we're not going to let it go. But going back to Mike, I just have to say that that was an incredibly devastating loss. That I couldn't even talk about it or listen to music for months. I mean, we were crushed at my house. He was Uncle Mike at my house. We got younger daughters, 10 and 12 now. But back with Uncle Mike, they were, younger, and they loved him. He was, when Metal Church would rehearse, people would come, and some of the guys would stay at my house because I live in Vegas, So everybody always wants to rehearse in Vegas, and Mike had spent a lot of time at the house. He was part of our family, so it was devastating career-wise. It was devastating friends-wise, and it was devastating family-wise to my household that all adored him. It was ugly.
Absolutely.
And so we weren't even. I mean, there was no point where we said that's it. The band's done. We're not negative. Metal Church is one of the most positive bunch of people I've ever worked with. I can't tell you how much I love those guys. I got to be honest. So we just waited until, and then we started coming around, and me and Steve are pretty, been best friends for years, our bass player, and me and Kurt started talking again a little bit, and we started, he goes, hey, I had this inspiration. He sends over a riff. I'm like, this guy, he can't write a bad riff, Vanderhoof. That guy cannot write a bad riff. And he's, I think he's a genius, and so we're moving forward, man, at a comfortable pace, I can't really tell you, hey, we're gonna have a record by the end of the year or next summer or whatever, but I can just say that we're moving forward, and the fans need to trust the band, and that's the word. We're telling everybody we're moving forward, and our hearts are in it, but we're not 110% sure what we're doing. You know what I mean? So. The fact that we're moving forward together and writing songs and it's great new materials coming up, that's where we're at.
Well, that is fantastic news. Yeah. We're big fans of the band, and so it's so great to hear that the band.
And I love them. I mean, I know it sounds corny and ridiculous, but I'm really, really happy. I come off stage musically satisfied every night. I mean, I'm proud every time we play. I enjoy it. I mean, I'm going to miss Mike because Mike was a big part. He was up on my riser and messing around and always checking on me. And I don't know. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird to play those songs without him. And I'm sure we're going to have an amazing tribute. If I have anything to say about it, we're going to have an amazing, video tribute or something, to his, at least for the next run of shows. He deserves it.
Oh, well, that's great news. We're so happy for you guys. Jeff, you got the next question?
Yeah. 2020, you guys released an album From the Vault, a compilation of lost tracks or B-sides. And can you talk a little bit about any of the tracks on that album?
The Vault was an awesome surprise because I was wondering we recorded a lot of songs for Damned If You Do because we weren't sure, we wanted to make sure it was good. Yeah. And then we recorded some stuff that we knew was going to be B-sides, some covers and stuff. We all picked a cover, and mine was Green Eyed Lady.
Yeah.
And so I think we did Ballroom Blitz or something. I don't know. But we had Hocus Pocus. I don't know. We did a bunch of them. It was so fun. But even some of the B-sides where I thought were really good and maybe should have been on Damned If You Do. But when it comes to that, that's when we trust Kurt. You know what I mean? He's made those final decisions forever with their albums, and I just my thinking is don't change it. Don't mess with a working formula. But the Vault was a great surprise. I think our label, Rat Pack, I think Joe was behind that. That was just one of his genius things. He comes up with cool stuff. But it was a cool piece,
Yeah.
It actually charted and stuff in a few places. I was like, wow, I believe the intent was to make it look like we were doing something when there was not that much going on. But it was really a great record.
Oh, so cool. I kind of wanted to touch base with you on live shows, a live set list. with the body of work that Metal Church has pre and post Mike Howe, and in the Mike Howe in between there, when you guys put a set list together, how do you guys? What do you guys decide on? What era and what songs of what albums, and how does it work putting a live set list together?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll try and give you an intelligent answer of some sort. When Mike was around, we were trying to gear it around. I'm a firm believer in the singer's got to sing it. That has a bearing on what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we were trying to work around not only his era, but what he sang best outside of his era. And we never try to force him to sing stuff that he didn't want to sing. It doesn't happen. Mike wasn't a guy he was an awesome guy and very zen and loving, but you couldn't make him do stuff he didn't want to do. And I respected him for that. Now I will only say that it is our intention moving forward to find someone that possibly can do it all, so we can pick from the catalog, because the catalog for this band is so ridiculously great that I couldn't believe it when I really dug into it. I was like, holy shit, it's endless. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, there's songs, I've wanted to play Gods of Wrath my whole life. When Metal Church was out with Wasp and they had Ronnie Monroe singing, and they were going to Gods of Wrath, I'd about lose my mind. I was like, oh my God, it was just so good. That's when I fell in love with them. I think it was like 2005. They were out on the Metal Blast tour, and Wasp was a headliner, and they were support, and L.A. Guns and Stephen Pearcy. And what a hootenanny that was. We had so much fun. But me and Daryl Roberts, the guitar player at the time at Wasp, we would sit out front and watch Metal Church and just look at each other and go, how is it possible that these guys are opening for us? You know what I mean? Me and him were both like, we were great in our own way. Wasp is a killer band in its own way, but Metal Church was just so technically perfect. And Ronnie, the vocals were so good. I was like, holy crap, consistently. Yeah, especially one day we played with Twisted Sister, and Metal Church went on in the afternoon, and we all partied hard the night before, and we were all hungover and could barely even lay down in the field and watch them, and they were up there rocking, and I was just like, wow, those guys are rock stars, man.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Jeff, you have the next question?
Well, yeah, you probably answered this question 100 times, but how did it come about joining Metal Church?
Oh, well, it's the perfect time to ask the question. When I love a band, I'm not afraid to let them know. I'm not a guy that tries to keep people in their place and stuff like that, So I was a gusher. I love Metal Church. And when Jeff Plate stepped down because he was doing Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Metal Church, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, well, if I got to make a choice, I love Metal Church, but Trans-Siberian Orchestra pays him, I wouldn't even want to imagine. But he's like an original. I'm sure he gets paid really well, and he's really great, and he deserves it. But he stepped down, and Steve Unger, being my best buddy, he's like, hey, we should give Stet a call. And they're like, he'd be great and all, but he's probably going to want a bunch of money and all that stuff. And Steve's like, well, you're not going to know unless you call him, are you? And then anyway, they reached out, and they were like, hey, listen, Jeff stepped down, and, we love to, have you in the band and stuff, but we can't offer you a big paycheck like Wasp probably gave you, but we'll offer you an equal piece of the band. We win together, we lose together. And I almost started bawling. I was like, that's the coolest thing I ever heard in my life, And that was how the relationship started. I said, dude, let's get together and jam and make sure that we all gel. And we did that, and we gelled like bros. And then I went, I learned the live set, and I went and ran the set like 2 or 3 times, and we went out and did shows. Oh, it was crazy. Yeah. I showed up for 4 days of rehearsal thinking I was going to rehearse like for 6 hours a day, and in those 4 days I ran the set like 3 times.
Oh, so cool.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really going to throw you a curveball on this question. So in 1998, you were the drummer on Joey Belladonna's Spells of Fear album. Can you talk a little bit more about working with Joey Belladonna and the whole recording of that album?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I actually can. That was fun. And me and Joey, we were friends like back when he was in cover bands in Cape Cod and stuff. You know, when we were young, we were in cover bands that played the same rooms. But my buddy Peter Scheidauer is a guitar player. I've done 10 records with. I don't know, a lot of records with him. You know, and he called me up. He's like, "Hey man, I have this thing. I know you'd be interested in Joey Belladonna," and I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "We're going to record at his house." And he just bought all this gear for a recording studio at his house, and it all showed up about a week before we showed up to record the record, and it was like barely set up, and you know, he put it together and he engineered and stuff. He did a good job, you know. But we recorded at his house, and the songs were kind of written, you know. Peter had the songs in song form, and those guys were kind of working out choruses and arrangements of at least the lengths of the verses and stuff. So yeah, I showed up there. I was there for about 10 days, and we recorded about 10 or 11 songs, and it was a lot of fun. We were pretty much at his house, you know, trying to figure out how all the stuff worked for about a quarter of the time, you know. But we figured it out. But it was total like, leave the musicians with a bunch of gear and see how it works out type of thing, you know. But it was Joey's gear, Joey's house, Joey's album, and he was the engineer producer guy kind of.
Oh, so cool.
I'm not sure who mixed it or whatever. Gosh, I can't remember. But me and him have remained, you know, we've always been good buddies, and we crisscross on the road and get together and threaten to do things. But we, you know, I haven't done we did that record, and now that you mention it, I'll probably reach out and go, dude, before we croak, we should do another thing, you know?
Very good. Jeff, you got the next question?
Yeah. So, you know, like you said, Eric's alluded to, you got a large body of work. So I was kind of trying to dive into, you know, one that I had never heard of. The band was called Stream, and you were listed with 2 albums, Take It or Leave It and Chasing the Dragon.
Oh, Stream. That's that guy, Peter Scheidauer, Pierre. Yeah, that's where I met him. That was in like early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Stream thing. I remember how I ended up doing that. This is a weird one. I went to the FM station, Filthy McNasty's place. I lived right nearby with my buddy Beast from Impellitteri. Beast, David the Beast Spitz from Black Sabbath and Impellitteri. We worked together in a few bands. And I went out with him one night to get lit up or whatever we were up to, and Pierre was supposed to meet Eric Singer there that night to talk about recording that stuff. And then, I don't know, somehow I got a hold of him first, and I picked him up and gave him a hug, and he goes, "Oh, man, I like this Stet guy. I will hire him." And so that's, you know, I picked him up and hugged him when I met him, and I guess that's how I got the gig, because he was there. He was going to meet Eric. And then down the road, Eric did do some of the Stream stuff, I think. Gosh, it's so hard to remember all that stuff. Yeah, I still work with Peter. He's my buddy. He's a good man.
Well, you kind of alluded to, you know, working at a studio in Joey Belladonna's house to record a full album. But, you know, now with technology, you know, we have people recording full albums in their bathrooms on their iPhones or whatever. And we, you know, now we're seeing to the day of like the TikTok artist as the popular culture for music. And you see, you know, veteran artists like yourself, and you're still doing it the old-fashioned way. With this today's technology of being able to record music so simple and record an album through a phone, is this good for the culture of rock and roll music?
It's not good for everybody, no. It makes it too easy for people that suck to record records. I mean, not to be a dick, and I encourage everyone to try, but I don't want to hear it all. And myself, I've used the modern technology in that I use the Pro Tools Logic, the digital format. I actually am a PreSonus guy. I'm endorsed with the company. They're amazing, and I use the PreSonus Studio One, and I record my drums so they sound. I do not plan on the people using sound replacer, so I take the time to, you know, mic my drums correctly, tune them correctly. I use preamps to warm them up. I actually record really great sounding acoustic drums, and most of the time people use them. Very seldom do they use sound replacer on my setup, but I have a very professional home studio setup. Actually, right now it's in a warehouse here in Florida. It was in Vegas, but we had to change locations for a second. So I just rewired and rebuilt my studio here in Florida, and I'm just starting on a few records. Metal Church may or may not be one of them.
Very good.
Yeah. Before you alluded to being a lead singer drummer, starting out that way. Can you talk a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that's what I did in the older days, and I didn't lead sing one song on this Howland Hyatt record because when we started it, it was just for fun, and then I was thinking, Johnny, this will be a good solo record for you, and then we once it got done, when I talked to my buddy Opus and everything, it's like, it's like we'd probably have a little more traction if we put your name in there too. And I'm like, okay, well, and I just was like, oh yeah, they're going to run out and buy the solo record from the drummer. I just, that's my stance and my attitude, so I don't look like a dick,
Yeah.
And when things go good, it makes you look good. But if you get dismissed or dissed, it's like, well, yeah, of course I expected some of that. I still can't believe I haven't gotten roasted more on like Blabbermouth and Stevie over in Metal Sludge. I've gotten murdered over there, but I love the kid. I get it. It's like he's also helped make me much more famous.
Oh, very good. I got one last question for you, and we'll leave you alone for the evening. Generalized question here. I ask it to all of our guests. The mystery of rock and roll. You were part of the mystery of rock and roll with the band Wasp. Since the dawning of the internet and social media, we really don't have a mystery anymore because the cat is kind of out of the bag. With you being a part of the mystery of rock and roll at one point, and now you're on the other side of it, with like all the other artists are, what do you prefer as an artist? Do you prefer the accessibility of the internet and social media, or do you miss the mystique and the mystery of rock and roll?
B. I miss the mystique. It's just I'm the type of guy that likes to enjoy the magic show. I don't necessarily. It kind of bums me out when I figure out how it all works a little bit. So now I like the mystique. The old days were much. When I was in Wasp, dude, if Blackie would see a camera, a red dot of a camera, he'd stop the show, and the guy would get like tackled and his camera stolen and get thrown out. It was like crazy. It's just. What I don't like now is, like, for instance, last Saturday I was at my best friend and my business partner's memorial. And, in order to get through it, not to be a sissy, but I was drinking Bloody Marys from noon on. But about 5 o'clock, 5:30 is when I get invited up to play and sing and stuff. And luckily I do okay when I'm sideways. But, it's like I go up there, I play and sing a few songs, and it was okay and everything. The people there loved it. And the videos aren't horrible, but it's like it was on YouTube while I was still there. It was, you know what I mean? It was already on YouTube, and I'm like, dude, I got to be like Judge, It's just I don't know. It's too imposing a little bit.
I get it.
So you basically got to be good and be on your toes, or not give a shit. So I do a little of both.
Very good. Well, we're out of our allotted time for this evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
You know what? You guys have been amazing. I should probably mention that I am, Dave Ellison's a good friend of mine, and he has Ellison Publishing, and we've agreed I'm going to be writing some books. I got like a few books that I'm going to be releasing in the next year or two. And I just thought I should just mention that because I keep forgetting this too. And I'm sure there's a few other things that I'll get yelled at for, but you guys have been fantastic. I appreciate your time. Brilliant questions. Very interesting. I wasn't bored for a second.
Oh, well, nice. Thank you so much. Well, this is how it's going to work out. We have about 3 to 4 weeks of episodes to release before yours. But Jeff, the editing wizard over here, he'll get it all cleaned up, and we'll get it out about anywhere between 3 and 4 weeks.
You guys are awesome, dude.
Oh, thank you so much.
I had a great time.
This was fun.
We'll get this out to your press person as soon as it's ready to go. Thank you so much.
No, yeah, you do your thing. It's you guys are great. Get to me when you get to me, bro. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Have a good night.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.